At the end of your life, what will be your legacy? What will you leave behind for future generations? For the world, join the World Messenger, Izabela Lundberg, each week as she brings you a new distinguished guest from the business, sports, or entertainment world to share their success, their struggles, and their lessons. They will share their insights into current hot topics that affect everyone. Izabela facilitates an intimate, vulnerable environment to find the true value of humanity and real leadership. Are you ready for your legacy? The legacy that matters?
Hello, my beautiful friends. It's Izabela, the World Messenger, and I am inviting you for Legacy Leaders Show. Today, I have a very special guest that is joining me directly from Ukraine, and we're going to be shedding some light with conversation that we need to have and shared understanding of what is going on. I have here board member, CHRO, People Organization and Development Strategic Planning, if you don't guys know, that is really focused obviously on well-being of people in organizations. That is also part of the public broadcasting company in Ukraine, and that is given independent, neutral voice and not politically driven narrative. That is also so much concern obviously for not only employees, but also now, fortunately, for safety of his people, his family, his friends, his colleagues. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Dmytro Kozlov. How are you?
Well, I'm fine. Thank you, Izabela. And I do appreciate the chance to tell something about the situation in Ukraine and the situation with this awful and really unexpected war.
Thank you so much for, first of all, agreeing to and trusting in me, and obviously to be here on the Legacy Leader Show, because we always look at from the leadership standpoint. And before war broke off, you had such a tremendous, vital and visible role, not only in Ukraine with your people, but also with partners, with major brands around the world. And knowing how world works very well together, I know that this took everybody by surprise, and just the very short period of time, level of viciousness and actions that are still for a lot of people really hard to understand. Do you mind shedding a little bit about a light, what is happening, how all this started, and why you think some of the main reasons what is going on currently?
Well, the situation, it's hardly to explain in maybe some short words, but I will try. Let's start with the definition. Now it looks like as anti-colonial war. We've got a very difficult neighbor right near us, our country. We've got some historical ties, maybe. We've got some issues that have been done together. For example, Ukraine and Belarus, and maybe Russia used to be the member of United Nations. Altogether, we've passed through an awful Second World War. Altogether, we've been involved in a Soviet, Soviet awful empire of evil. But for last 30 years, as you know, Ukraine is definitely independent country with a very difficult political landscape, with a very difficult economic situation. And all this time, we've been thinking of being a part of Europe, being part of global world and global economy. But 7 years ago, 8 years ago, in 2014, we've made some really historical steps that our neighbor didn't like at all. I'm talking about Maidan, I'm talking about revolution, I'm talking about re-election of our president. And it was right the moment when we were extremely weak, and we've lost Crimea. It's a huge peninsula in the south of Ukraine, and we lost some districts in Donetsk and Lugansk region. And it was the beginning of real war. For about a couple of years, we've been fighting against Russian proxy troops, and till the beginning of 2015, we've got the situation that we've fixed the line between our peaceful country and cutted territories, non-controlled by Ukrainian government. And it was fixed. We didn't even think of solving the problem by weapon. We understand that our Ukrainian people are on these regions. Our Ukrainian people are in Crimea. So we've tried again and again and again to make it via diplomatic and political procedures. We understood. I understood as a man who was born in the USSR. I used to live in several countries. I used to live, for example, on Cyprus, which is separated still. I understand that it may take years and decades, but we didn't do anything to making it in a military way. And a month ago, we've not been really surprised because we've been told that it's possible, but we've been really surprised how hard it has become, how unhuman it has become, how illogical it has become. Because I remember this day, I live right between Kiev and Boryspil, the biggest international airport. It's been 5:15 when me and my wife has got these awful sounds like boom, 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 boom. And we understood that it has begun.
Wow, such a swift changes, and you're right. It's been just a little bit over the month, and as you mentioned, the images, the things that we're seeing, also how world is reacting and everything. We're stunned, and I can't even imagine what you, your family, your beautiful children, and all the other children and families are just going through, and just to seeing magnitude of exodus of not only refugees, as we were mentioning, over 3 million, it's already in exile that left the country, separation of family units, people scrambling to try not only to understand, but also to figure out how to protect themselves, right? So with all of that in mind, I know that it's even hard to predict what you may need, right? With everything that is going on. Do you mind sharing a little bit for your perspective as someone who is representing public broadcasting company of Ukraine? Do you mind shedding light what you were doing prior and how you're now using your voice and your platform to make a difference? And then also, if you don't mind, also sharing how can we make a difference? How can we, from external, from other parts of the world, help you in this process?
Well, the situation is quite unusual for all the country, but almost as always, Ukrainians uniting in the struggle for freedom. And we've got a very rough and tough history for all these decades and centuries and all this even thousands of years. So right after beginning this stage of war, our company, together with 4 more largest media group of Ukraine, have been united for the 24/7 media marathon for the main channels of this country. All of us has a time slot for this time, and we didn't stop even for a second. And it's a unique situation. We are the only independent and public broadcasting company here in Ukraine, and we've got 4 private media group, the same size of us, and we are united for this process for the months and some days more. And it's our common mission to inform our people all over the country and a little bit abroad about the situation here. And you know, I've seen how does it work. I used to be in Cherkasy. It's one of Ukrainian city, regional center. Right after a week after beginning of the war, we've been in shelter, and we've seen first refugees from Kharkov when it's been possible to leave the city. They've came to Cherkasy. It's about 300 kilometers between the cities, but it's another bank of river. So they've came to the hotel with stayed, and they've seen these faceless people and scared kids, and they think of nothing just to be safe. And then in the evening, for example, and then in the morning when we've been all together taking breakfast, and it's been big TV set with our channel, with our marathon on the screen, and I've seen how they've been becoming more calm. They understood that our country still has television. Our country still has broadcasting. We still inform people about what's going on. And this is the mission of our company and all other media group, to give our people an anchor, to give our people a support in media sphere. Because right now we've got three vectors of war. Usual awful war when armies destroys everything around them. Media war, I mean propaganda war, and economical war. Yes. And our mission is to be on the second vector, because you couldn't even imagine how much money Russia spends on propaganda all around the world. This is the way we make our mission today, and it's for around the company. But right at the same time, we have 4,000 of our people, I mean our staff, which is in every region of Ukraine, in every city of Ukraine, we've got our regional branches. And for this month, we were gathering the people from the hot regions. We've been gathering teams to another regions to make broadcasting. We've been thinking over how to make logistic to give some of them equipment and to get families of some of them to come regions and even abroad. And this is the process we are involved right now in.
Wow, that is so powerful. And I'm so glad you mentioned those vectors and understanding how everything fits in terms of the war. And I'm glad that you are representing that voice, because as someone who survived the war in Balkans and now looking what's going on in Baltics and specifically in Ukraine, obviously in your country, I know that propaganda has, and it creates so many casualties, so much confusion, and also creates tremendous amount of pain and suffering for people. Having this independent public broadcasting company, it's just such a, not only essential, but I just want to say, first of all, like, kudos you, how calm, collected, grounded you are. Because you're midst of danger yourself and your family. You mentioned you have two beautiful sons and daughter, and having this impressionable years of their life without understanding what's happening, right? You're right. Having that anchor of for other families and calm voice and authentic, honest share of the news versus propaganda, it's such a huge differentiator. So do you mind sharing a little bit some of the stories, some of the things that you're seeing, some things that really, there are contrasts in some ways, they puzzle you, but also you see amazing human spirit and invincibility based on how people react? Because we're seeing images that even women are helping Russian soldiers that and helping them to make a call, or people are not attacking them viciously as they're being viciously attacked. And it just shows amazing depth of humanity. So do you mind sharing a little bit about that? Because you're midst of all of that and you know the best.
Well, you know, maybe there is a little bit different angle of view, because I spent almost 3 weeks traveling around Ukraine, and I've seen sometimes very small pieces of humanity. For example, when you see the row of cars, 1,000 cars, which are migrating from one part of Ukraine to another in the road, you see usual Ukrainian people aside the road, just giving some cakes and soups and tea right into the windows of these cars, which are standing in the row through block posts. It's just a little thing, but it has helped women and children and all these people to spend these hours and hours on these roads.
Wow. That is beautiful, beautiful human nature. We may not have enough. We don't know what tomorrow brings, but how can we help and serve one another, and how we can help our fellow people, right? That is beautiful. So with please.
Another piece of this maybe humanity collaboration is when you're entering, for example, a hostel or a hotel or a motel. You may pay for your room or you may not. As a rule, you pay nothing for breakfast or dinner. As a rule, you'll be suggested some gas just to continue your way. As a rule, you'll be told about all the situation on the roads. I've seen, it was Vinnytsia, one more region city in the center of Ukraine. I've seen the huge row for gas because it's been some problems with supplies, and I've seen it was Peugeot 5008 family car with A4 paper where was signed kids in Ukrainian, was scotched to the window, and they've seen some bullets holes on this door, and they've seen how the row for gas has just move aside and give them just gas because they've been as much scared just to leave this region. I've seen a lot of camps for inner relocated citizens, and it's been in such unusual places, restaurants, libraries, schools, but schools is quite usual place for campus. I've seen a lot of help on roads, and well, there is not enough words to explain what's going on in Ukraine and between Ukrainians right now. But the worst histories, I know that, for example, we've got 2 our employees, which one of them is in Mariupol, another one is in Kharkov. We don't know exactly where they are. We and their relatives has no connections with them for 3 weeks. We have no information about those people right now. Some weeks ago, we've got some people from Irpin, Bucha, and Gostomel. It's places near the Kiev. It's been occupied by Russians. Now they are deoccupied, and we've met some people from our colleagues from that regions, which spent 2 weeks in shelter in basement of their own or maybe our neighbors' townhouses. So there are a lot of stories here, and not much of them are bright.
I'm sorry to hear that, and this is also very hard to understand because how things escalated so quickly, right? And how you got where you are right now, right? And a lot of people still cannot believe because you don't plan for war, you don't set up stuff and think about it, and a lot of people are still scrambling because it's not only escalated in a high danger, but unfortunately, as you said, when it's cut off communication and you don't know what somebody's whereabouts, you don't know if they're alive, you don't know what they may need. It's very, very challenging, just as an employer, as someone who is caring about their your people, let alone everything else. So with that in mind, obviously, in your independent opinion, if you don't mind sharing a little bit, what we really need to know right now, and what do you think you guys need the most help with? How can we, from other parts of the world, outside of Ukraine, from Europe, United States, North America in general, other countries, how can we help?
The main help the whole world may give us here in Ukraine is to help our Ukrainians which are abroad. What I mean, we understand that nobody will fight for us here in Ukraine. We understand that only Ukrainian army and navy and National Guard will be in front of Russian aggression here in Ukraine. We do appreciate all this stuff. Everything is fine. Kharkov will be with the right Wests. We understand that it's our deal to fight here, but we do need help for our 3 million people out of Ukraine. We understand that they are guests in your countries. We understand that 3 million people have left Ukraine. It's almost all of them are women and kids, and 4,000 people has came into Ukraine. It's our men which has came back to Ukraine from abroad to fight for Ukraine. So the main help we need is to help our women and kids there, in Poland, in Bulgaria, in Germany, in Netherlands, in the United States, I'm sure in Canada, because we are able to do everything we need here, but we do afraid that they are in other countries. So it will be very helpful for us to understand that they have common safety in other countries.
Thank you so much for saying that, because you're right. A lot of them are resettling, and narrative is changing, which I'm grateful to see, because we know that a lot of times in a lot of parts of the world, refugees are not welcome. But luckily, in this scenario, I'm seeing more and more support, and refugees not only to be welcome, but also to be very quickly integrated, specifically children in school, and as much as possible normalize life, because they're uprooted, they're confused, they need a safety, they need a stability, and they need some consistency, right? And an environment that they can thrive. But it's just very heart-wrenching to see how many, as you said, women and children are out and just seeing on the streets of Warsaw or other parts of it, and then you start putting in perspective how big it is problem, and we don't know if it's gonna end and when it's gonna end. So what is your take about that? How you think this is just the beginning? What are some of your inclinations here in terms of what is going to be happening in months to come? Do you see it's any chance and opportunity to negotiate and then come up with a solution for peace? Or you think, unfortunately, it's going to be prolonging a long marathon for the long period of time?
Well, I do respect the such a person. He used to be in Auschwitz. His name is Viktor Frankl. Yes. And he has told that if you're going to get through any difficult situation and you think it will be finished in May, maybe in June, maybe in April, it's much more harder if it's not finished. So right now, most of us understand that it's not a sprint, it's marathon. Most of us understood that nobody knows when will it finish. Most of us hope that it will finish soon, but I understand, and my colleagues understand, my family understand that nobody knows when will it finish. Russia is a big country. They have a lot of resources. They've got the third or the second or the first army by size. they've got oil and gas and all this stuff, and it's hard to predict how will it finish. It's easy to predict that it will be our win, but I can't even imagine how much will it cost for us. The only thing which may give us a little bit more hope, and I do appreciate visit of President Biden to Poland, that we understand that almost all civilized world has told this word, it's war, and has named the aggression, it's Russia. And it's very important for us to understand that we are not alone. And it's very important for us to hope that all these sanctions will cut Russia from technologies, from global finance, from high-tech industries, and it will definitely help. I don't care about people in Kazan or St. Petersburg or in Moscow. I mean, usual people. I don't care of them. I don't need them to be in bad situation. I don't need it. But I do need, as every Ukrainian, I do need to cut resources for Russian army and navy and aviation. I do need to stop supplying technology to Russian military facilities. I do not need to see batteries from German Bosch in Russian tanks. It will help. And we'll do it. We'll do everything we can, but we need this kind of help.
That is so. Thank you so much for sharing that, and it's very important to put things in perspective. And I'm glad to hear the strength, resilience, and voices and conviction. And unfortunately, we all hope it will not take too long and will not be prolonged. But we also at the same time fear that might take a longer, because seeing the historically what usually happens and how things play out. And as world is obviously watching, and that people are trying to figure it out to make a sense of it. And sometimes just doesn't make sense, right? And as you were saying earlier, I'm seeing something amazing that is also happening. And I'm just so, I just want to kudos you, first of all, how you're standing up and leading your way, your path, and with your independent, again, broadcasting agency, and giving people chance for high morale and 24/7 outlets to at least know what is going on and get a better sense what's happening in other parts of the country, because you have a fairly big country as well. Do you mind sharing a little bit how is also morale and how is being perceived, the messages from president? We're seeing something that we did not had a chance to see in modern time, and just adding that to obviously that resilience and strength and tapping into that belief and support. What is your perspective on that?
Well, talking about any president in this world, I do believe that Mr. Biden and even Putin, and for example, our President Zelensky is part of people which they've been elected by. And you know, as for Ukrainian situation, Ukrainian president by himself, here in this country, I mean Ukraine, for all these decades, we have a very competitive political landscape. We have no any leader or dictator or strong hand. We've got political clans, we've got political groups, we've got all this political stuff. We've never been a monopolitically ruled country. And this is our maybe sometimes it's a problem, sometimes it's our strange. So as for example, for our president, he's really part of our people. He wasn't liked by everybody here in this country before the war. Right now, he is supported by everyone. He wasn't a leader for all the political parties of all opinion leaders before the war. always Ukrainian has a lot of questions to their leaders. We always think that it may be better. We always think that it is to be better. But right from the beginning of the war, a lot of us has been surprised by our president, and a lot of us have decided that it's not the time to think over and over any political issues. It's time to fight all together. And if you've seen this interview, I mean, yesterday's interview of our president, he is tired. He's in a very simple in a very simple situation, in a very simple clothes, as well as all this team. As I understand, only diplomats wear suits these days in Ukraine. And almost everybody here in this country works 20 hours per day, as well as our president. And one more thing, I understand that even our president understands who's real heroes in our country today. It's our volunteers, it's our soldiers, it's our businessmen, it's our people. Everybody in Ukraine may become hero right now, but well, it's a lot of lyrics, I mean, a lot of emotions. But as getting back to our political landscape, right now we see who is real leader,
yes,
and who is just a picture or a face on the screen.
Yes.
Because today going to work, I'm just thinking over our political situation, and I understand that for this month I haven't seen some of politicians which were very active before war, but now there is nobody of them in media sphere. So the war is a bad time for those people who doesn't love their country, and it's a kind of distillation, political distillation, who is a real leader, who is not. So, and I understand that this is right the time to see for us Ukrainians, for everybody, for every country in this political situation all over the world, it's quite clear who has a decent position and who hasn't, who makes some steps and who doesn't, who helps even Ukrainian refugees or economics like Poland, and who doesn't, like some other countries. I don't want to blame the countries, but for example, if you calculate how much Estonia helps and how much Germany helps or Austria helps, you'll be surprised. If you analyze data and statistics, what has happened in economics of country of old Europe and not quite old Europe, you may be surprised. And it's right the time to see who's your friend and who is just a viewer of the situation. So it's
excellent point and excellent perspective, and you're spot on. Leaders really show their face in times of challenges and difficulty or not, and then we know who we can count on, and we also know who has a muscle and substance and desire to continue, and who not going to leave and abandon people. And just to seeing how strongly President Zelensky is showing up, it just gives us, so many of us watching and listening outside of the country, obviously outside of Ukraine, with so much pride. Even though I'm not Ukrainian, I'm so proud to see how strong and not divided, how all of you came together, and how you keep that moral high. So not only obviously what president is saying, but how everybody's supporting that narrative, and that's the only way to overcome challenges and difficulties that you're facing. So with that in mind, obviously we're on the Legacy Leader Show. You are parts of history that it's literally right now been written. Do you mind just sharing in closing your perspective or any advice or anything that we should know as you're going through, as you're dealing with all these emotions, as you are experiencing the war? What comes up? What is the message for the world to protect the peace and to protect global peace, frankly?
Well, I'm not sure on the position which give me a chance to say for the whole world, but maybe the one idea, don't let dictators to go too far. The earlier you'll stop the evil, the less will be the damage. I used to be in Iraq between two Iraq's war. I used to be in Syria before war. I used to live in Soviet Union. It was an empire of evil. And I understand that if we have a chance to stop dictator, we are to do it as soon as possible. If we have a chance to stop, if we had the chance to stop Lukashenko a year before, we hadn't been hit by rockets from Belarus to our cities. If we had a chance to stop Putin in 2014, we hadn't this awful situation. So the main idea to all the strong countries of this world, J7 or J19 or whatever, United Nations, all the people, all the business people, of the business leaders, if we are able to stop evil when it's small, it won't take human lives.
Wow, you're spot on. When we as a leader see something is not right, and even if it's not by popular a majority, but stepping up, speaking up, preventing, apprehending before it gets too far, I can't agree more. It's better than dealing with situations that we would find ourselves in, or situations that fortunately you're experiencing at this time. Such words of wisdom, and again, so much courage from you, Mr. Kozlov, for not only staying and doing what is right, but also continuing to serve people. For everyone again watching and listening, you're broadcasting 24/7. You're giving peace of mind for people, for at least things that they need to know or to be warned about, or make a better choices and decisions so they can survive and protect their safety. I just wanted to say again, thank you so much for this opportunity, and we'll definitely have more conversations and more opportunity to dialogue. We want to stay safe and well, and again, thank you for your time.
It's been a pleasure of mine, and thank you so much for such a chance.
Thank you for listening to Legacy Leader Show. If you enjoyed the content and had a positive experience, then please leave us a positive rating. In addition, leave us a positive review whenever you are listening on whatever platform there might be. Make sure your friends and family also know about the benefit and value that we provide and what we have to offer. Cheers.